Hi, I'm Farrel Coleman, author of the Moe Prager series, and we're here in my old neighborhood of Coney Island, Brooklyn. I'm often asked at signings and on panels why I set my books here, and I guess I'm here to talk a little about why that is. Recently, I heard Keith Richards, the guitarist of the Rolling Stones, on the radio, and he said some pretty fascinating things that resonated with me. He was talking about the England he grew up in, and the England he grew up in was post-World War II England, but he always talked about how his parents and his grandparents' generation would always say things like, "You should have seen England before the war." And you know, it made it odd for him because he would never know that England. That England didn't exist anymore. And that really resonated with me because the Brooklyn I grew up in was a Brooklyn in which the people who were older than me, my parents and grandparents, were very much looking backwards to Brooklyn in its glory days. And that big, tall, skeletal thing behind me is called the parachute jump. It's the central icon of Coney Island, and it was once one of the most popular rides in Coney Island. Now it's just a hulking, impotent superstructure of rusty iron. And you know, by the time I was born, I think they hadn't used it for years. And surrounding it was a amusement park that was part of the larger amusement park area of Coney Island called Steeplechase Park. And by the time I was 10 years old, that had been taken away. And the Brooklyn I grew up in was a Brooklyn of the past. The Dodgers moved out of Brooklyn in 1957. I was born in 1956. But by the time I was conscious, the Dodgers were gone. So, you know, my parents and grandparents, like Keith Richards' parents and grandparents, would always talk about the place in the past. Brooklyn was a place that existed in the past for my parents. And that's a very odd thing to be born into. It's really had a profound effect on me. I spent a lot of my time in this place, and as I grew up, it grew worse and worse. Coney Island was like a bit of a leper of a neighborhood because as the years passed, pieces and pieces of it would fall away. Buildings and rides would be destroyed, and in it, not new buildings or new rides, but empty lots, empty, weeded, overgrown lots. And that's a really interesting kind of place to grow up in because I grew up partially with my one foot in the future and one foot in the past, and I've been sort of stuck in that place. And that's why my protagonist, Moe Prager, is very much a man who's stuck in the past. William Faulkner once wrote that the past is never dead, it isn't even past. And that's true for me, and it's very true for my protagonist, Moe Prager. Now, if we walk a little bit, I'll show you some of the other central icons of Coney Island.